3 months later, they've made it to Wyoming, but there's no sign of Tommy. To make things worse, they're completely lost. They went to Cody, but it was crawling with infected. They made a left when they should have made a right. They need to figure out where exactly they are. They find a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and they find a couple inside, and they ask them for directions. They have to do it at gunpoint. But the couple seems nice enough, and they give them the directions. But they also tell them that if they've made it this far, they probably know that the likelihood of Tommy being alive is slim to none. When Joel asks for some advice to go west, the man tells him, yeah, go east. Don't ever go past this river here, and he points to one on a map. While they've never seen who's out past the river, what they do see is the bodies that are left behind. They just know it's bad news. Joel isn't going to give up that easily. He leaves the house, starts to walk outside, but the realization that Tommy might be dead hits him pretty hard. He gets a chest pain. He chalks it up to the cold air, but it's not just that. The next day, they make their way towards the river. They see the bridge, but they don't see anybody, bodies or infected or anything. They get to the other side and still nothing, so they continue to walk. On their walk, they even come across a power plant, although Joel has no idea how it works. But not too long after that, they come across people. A lot of people. Intimidating. On horseback with guns. They surround Joel and Ellie. They tell them to drop their weapons. And then they check to make sure they're not infected. They don't have one of those fancy devices, but what they do have is a dog that's really, really good at it. Joel, of course, isn't infected. He doesn't have anything to worry about, but Joel doesn't know what's going to happen when this dog sniffs Ellie. I mean, technically she is infected, but she's immune. Joel's fears, though, wash away when he looks over and the dog is literally playing with Ellie. So the two are safe. Now that the group knows that Joel and Ellie aren't infected, they ask, all right, what are you doing out here? And Joel says, I'm just looking for my brother. That's when a woman comes forward and says, what's your name? And when Joel says his name, she recognizes it. The group escorts Joel and Ellie back to their town, and that's what it is. It is an absolute fortified town. They find themselves in the town of Jackson, Wyoming. And Joel is especially shocked because entering the gates, it's as if they have actually gone back to the way it was before. The only thing really missing is cars. Everybody's using horses. As they're taking it all in, Joel sees Tommy. Tommy rushes down, gives Joel a big hug, and the two brothers embrace. While Joel is thrilled to be here, Ellie not so much. She doesn't like the way how these people have handled things so far. The fact that they were ready to kill them, one, and the fact that upon entering the gates, they took Ellie's gun away from her. In a few months, Ellie's become pretty attached to the thing. Tommy tries to explain to her that they just have to be super careful about who they let in. As far as the bodies that are left around, those are the people that tried to mess with them. They do that to scare off other individuals. Joel asks the woman for a moment alone to talk to his brother. Just family. And that's when Tommy says, actually, her name's Maria, and she is family. We're married. It's a little awkward. Joel doesn't really know what to say, so Tommy breaks up the silence by saying, let's give you a tour. And they tour the small community. This place really has everything. They've got a school. They've got a movie theater. They've got electricity thanks to the dam. This place is the only place that they've found in their journey that actually works. Maria breaks down how the community works, and what it boils down to is they're a commune. Everybody works for the betterment of the community. When the question comes up of where Joel and Ellie can stay, that's already covered. They've got an empty house across the street. Hasn't been touched since '03. It didn't take long for Ellie to start warming up to this place, especially when she meets a horse named Shimmer. Maria takes Ellie over to the house to get acclimated, and Joel and Tommy are able to catch up. Tommy asks how Tess is, and Joel lies to him, saying she's fine. Tommy definitely doesn't buy Joel's story on who Ellie is. The story that Joel tells is she's a bigwig in the Firefly's daughter. She's trying to locate her family, and Joel just took it out of the goodness of his heart to escort her out here. Joel doesn't come clean, but he does tell Tommy, yeah, there's a payment involved. So, do you know where the Fireflies are? Tommy says that the Fireflies have a base at the University of Eastern Colorado. It's about a week's ride south, but it's a pretty rough stretch. Not one that anyone should take by themselves. Joel thinks that won't be an issue. Tommy can go with him, but Tommy says, nah, I can't go, man. That really pisses Joel off. He starts demanding answers from Tommy, why he stopped using the radio. And Tommy tells him that after he left the Fireflies, Maria and her people found him and they took him in. They didn't have to, but they did. And they're really protective of where they're located, so He just stopped communicating. But the real reason why he can't go is the fact that Maria's pregnant. Joel doesn't really handle this news well, and Tommy doesn't handle the fact that Joel doesn't take the news well. Sparks a bit of a fight between the two where Joel says, we'll just grab some supplies and be out of here in the morning. The conversation between Ellie and Maria is going way better than the Joel and Tommy one, though. Ellie was able to take a shower, get some clean clothes, and then she headed across the street to Tommy and Maria's. Maria gives her a new jacket that will help with the cold, and then even gives her a haircut. Ellie's pretty curious on how Maria started cutting hair, thinking that maybe that was her job, but Maria says, no, that was a mom thing. I was actually the assistant district attorney out of Omaha, Nebraska. Ellie figured that Maria lost some kids. There was a little memorial put up. So she apologizes for Maria's loss, but she's shocked to find out that the other name, Sarah, that wasn't Tommy's daughter, and it wasn't Maria's daughter either. It was Joel's daughter. In the months that they've been together, Joel never revealed to Ellie that he had a daughter. This is the first she's hearing of it. To Ellie, it actually explains a lot. Maria, though, is pretty concerned for Ellie. She's heard plenty of stories from Tommy about Joel, and she doesn't exactly know what's going on between Joel and Ellie, but she is concerned for the little girl's safety, knowing what kind of person Joel was. Ellie, though, comes to Joel's defense, because after spending all these months with him, she has a pretty good idea of who he is. Maria looks at Ellie and says, just be careful who you put your faith in, because the only people that can betray us are the ones we trust. The first chance she gets to get the hell out of that chair and get out of that conversation, Ellie does, going around town to just explore. When nightfall hits, she still hasn't seen Joel. Joel was doing a little exploring himself, but he was kind of hiding out in a tool shed, and Tommy finds him there and apologizes for the confrontation. Tommy, though, has the same questions that Maria had. What the hell are you doing with this little girl? And Joel comes clean that Ellie is immune. It's hard for Tommy to quite comprehend what he just heard, so he makes Joel tell him the story from the beginning. He keeps reliving the same nightmare with Sarah over and over again, and he feels like he's destined to relive it with Ellie. He wants Tommy to take Ellie and find the Fireflies, because he feels like if he does, he's just going to fail her. It takes a lot of convincing, but Tommy eventually gives in and agrees. That night, when Joel eventually comes home, Ellie can tell right away that Joel is planning on ditching her. Joel tries to defend himself, but Ellie ain't having it. She yells, do you care about me or not? And Joel says, of course I do. Ellie shakes her head and just says, I'm not her, you know. That was a line that Ellie probably shouldn't have crossed. She pisses off Joel so much that Joel says, get ready to go in the morning. We're done. This sparks a really big fight on loss. Joel feeling like Ellie has no idea what loss truly is. And Ellie feeling like she knows exactly what loss feels like because everybody she ever cared about either left her or is dead. But the Sarah line was just too painful. Joel reminds Ellie that this was a transaction, and at dawn, they're going their separate ways. When it comes time to actually do that, though, at dawn, Joel can't bring himself to do it. He's had a lot of time to think about it, and he feels like Ellie deserves a choice. But Ellie's already made her choice. She's not going with Tommy. She's going with Joel. Tommy gives Joel some tips, some directions, then gives him a hug and sends him on his way. 5 days later, they make it to the university, unscathed. It's completely abandoned. They don't see anybody. They search the campus looking for any sign of the Fireflies or anybody, but all they find is monkeys that are let loose. That's when they do see the Firefly insignia spray painted on a sign. They follow the directions and head indoors, but it's been abandoned. Joel finds a moving list, so he knows that they picked up and left, but he doesn't know where they went. When they go upstairs, though, they do find a map that seems to indicate everybody went to Salt Lake City. They're then spooked because they hear voices outside, and it looks like raiders. They try to sneak out of the building and get on their horse and get out of there before they're seen, but they're caught. Joel ends up killing the one guy, but not before he's stabbed pretty good. Joel is in really, really rough shape. Ellie has to ride Joel out of there and get to safety. For the first time, Ellie is super, super scared because Joel isn't responding. She's in the middle of nowhere, and she has no idea what to do. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.